Hi folks, let's have a look and see what was new on Netflix from the 23rd to the 29th of November. Force Majeure, or Superior Force, is a Scandinavian drama about a sudden avalanche in an alpine ski resort that shatters the serenity of a vacationing Swedish family when their father flees without his wife and children. Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues, is a pretty hopeless sequel to the original, featuring Will Ferrell as the notorious Anchorman Ron Burgundy. In this film, the 70s are over and the Channel 4 news team need to stay classy and reassemble on New York's first 24-hour news channel. There is a decent cameo from Harrison Ford that is actually quite funny and about the only funny moment in the film. Historical documentary series Best of Enemies continues with Buckley versus Vidal. The long and bitter rivalry between the politically opposed intellectuals Gore Vidal and William F. Buckley Jr. is recounted here in this acclaimed documentary. Disney's 2008 Adam Sandler project Bedtime Stories arrived. Now, say what you like about Mr. Sandler, I still maintain that he's not funny and hasn't been since about 1998. This film is very much in the vein of Night at the Museum, however not possessing any of the fun, humour or spectacle of that movie. Instead, it relies on lame gimmicks, cuddly animals and stupid plot developments in an attempt to engage the audience. There's a new comedy from India running at 177 minutes. Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, or Something Is Happening as it was released in the UK, is the story of a girl who tracks down her widowed father's college best friend, believing they're meant to be together, but the woman is already engaged to another man. I would imagine that there is a lot more padding in there to make the runtime 3 hours. One of the coolest comedies from the 90s, Beavis and Butthead Do America, arrives. Just reading through this again reminds me of so many fun times, and it's one of the easily the most quotable movies of the 90s. The voice cast includes Demi Moore, Bruce Willis, Mike Judge, Robert Stack, Eric Bogosian, and David Letterman. It's a hilarious comedy, and I might actually be watching it again today. Craig T. Nelson stars in a 1989 adaptation of Red Riding Hood. In this film, given a protective red cloak by her grandmother, young Lynette sets off through the woods and encounters a shape-shifting wolf that also happens to be a spy of a wicked king. If that is indeed the plot to Red Riding Hood, then I don't know what I read when I was a kid. However, it stars Isabella Rossellini. Rhymes for Young Ghouls is a gangster film about a rebellious native teenager who learns the payoffs and perils of her family's drug dealing business and dreams of one day leaving the reservation. The Haunted Hathaways is a kids' TV show about a single mum called Michelle Hathaway and her daughters that find they share their New Orleans home with some ghosts, including single dad Ray Preston, who has 2 sons. Classic 80s romantic drama, Some Kind of Wonderful, starring Leah Thompson, Eric Stoltz and Mary Stuart Masterson, about a tomboy who has a crush on her best friend Keith, but their feelings go so unrequited that Keith falls for another girl. All 3 seasons of Ricky Gervais's Derek are available on Netflix now. This wasn't a bad show, I have to say. I did sit through the whole thing. It was nowhere near the level that Extras and The Office had reached before. However, it was still quite enjoyable and is worth sitting down and watching at least once. The Johnny Depp starring comedy Mordecai arrives. Now, from the trailer, this looks painful. However, I will give it the benefit of the doubt and have a go at it, because I've heard some people say that it's not that bad. It's actually quite competent and has a few good laughs in it. However, as it's on Netflix, I don't mind sitting down for an evening and giving it a go. Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow is on now, starring Jude Law, Angelina Jolie and Gwyneth Paltrow. I know the reviews for this film weren't outstanding, but I enjoyed the crap out of it, which is very unlike me. I'm not a big fan of CGI, and this film is pretty much wall-to-wall CGI. I don't think any of it is filmed outside of a green screen. But if you're looking for a bit of rollicking adventure with a 1940s feel to it, then this is the film for you. It has elements of The Rocketeer and Indiana Jones thrown in alongside a whole comic book atmosphere, which is very much what every film is looking to achieve in the cinema right now. Next up is The Last Stand, Arnold Schwarzenegger's first starring role having left the governor position in California. It doesn't quite hit the levels that Commando, Predator, Raw Deal, or True Lies managed. However, it still is a good old-fashioned Schwarzenegger shoot-'em-up movie, with a bit of crazy comedy thrown in from Johnny Knoxville that some people weren't too enthusiastic about, but I certainly got into, and an incredibly short runtime. It's not offensive, colourful, funny, and action-packed. Worth checking out. And my pick of the week is something that's probably going to make you turn off right now. 1985's King Solomon's Mines, starring Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone. Directed by J. Lee Thompson, this was obviously inspired by the H. Rider Hager classic, but taken many influences from Indiana Jones and thrown up on a low budget by the Cannon Group. I love King Solomon's Mines. It was a movie that I grew up with. It has a fantastic score by Jerry Goldsmith. It has great support from Herbert Lom and John Rhys Davis. It's goofy, it's campy, it's action-packed. It manages to entertain. I recently watched it with my 3-year-old. Whilst there were a few bits that I had to cover his eyes for, he was engaged with the screen constantly. It's like a live-action cartoon, and it's worth revisiting. I really hope the sequel pops up fairly soon. Well, thanks for watching, and remember to check out what's new on Amazon.